He was originally an imperial prince, noble and incomparably powerful, possessing the power of light. However, simply because he was born with a single wing, that he was treated as a demonic child who brought disaster, suffering from cruelty since childhood. His name is Anthony. While still a fetus in the womb, the vicious empress forcefully infused him with the dark power of her own child, Derek. Derek was the true demonic child. It was the power of light that surprisingly caused him to be born with only one wing. His birth mother was imprisoned because of this. The fates of the two princes were completely reversed. Anthony became a tragically twisted prince, while Derek possessed the infinite glory that should have belonged to him. Later, for the happiness of his beloved, Anthony even became a killing machine for the Demon King. His beloved and Derek found happiness, while Anthony was driven away by Derek, ending his tragic life in the icy wilderness. Seeing this, Shireen couldn't help but close her eyes in heartache. If only she could appear by Anthony's side, she would definitely help him rise to the peak of his life. When she opened her eyes again, she discovered that her proud resistance had become stillness, and she had become a child. A maid beside her reminded her, "Miss Amelia, today you will participate in the selection to become a companion for the two princes." This familiar name. Oh great, this is the legendary. In reality, she was a decisive and undefeated public relations queen. In public, she was a vigorous and resolute businesswoman, while in private, she was a deeply sentimental connoisseur of novels. Since she had transmigrated into this beloved novel, she must help the tragically fated Anthony rise to become king. According to the novel's setting, she was currently an unfavored, cannon-fodder stepdaughter of a declining noble family. Her stepmother offered her to the inauspicious Anthony as a companion in exchange for the opportunity for her own daughter to become Derek's companion. The scene changed to the imperial palace, where the empress was allowing the two princes to freely choose their companions. However, free choice was only Derek's privilege. As the demonic child, Anthony had already been ordered by the empress to choose Amelia. Unexpectedly, Derek preemptively declared he wanted to choose her, simply because she had been staring at Anthony the entire time, completely ignoring him. "Woman, you have successfully caught my attention." Amelia unhesitatingly refused and chose Anthony. She suddenly realized that she had offended the prince in public. This was a recipe for disaster. As expected, the unexpected happened. The empress was furious. To save her life, Amelia had to put on an act. She quickly knelt down and showered Derek with flattery, tearfully explaining that it wasn't that she was unwilling, but that she was unworthy. Derek instantly lost interest and said enough. Having dealt with Derek, the child, there was still an old fox waiting for her. Before the empress could pronounce her punishment, Amelia, while tugging at the hem of her skirt, and glancing at Anthony, declared that she remembered the empress's command. The implication was that she knew the empress's plan to assign her to Anthony. She was demonstrating her loyalty. An Oscar-worthy performance was thus successfully delivered. She was smoothly assigned to Anthony as his companion. However, Anthony's sharp gaze gave her a bad feeling. It seemed he had misunderstood her as a spy planted by the empress. She would have to work hard to win him over. The Lewis Empire had given birth to two princes at the same time. Unexpectedly, a strange phenomenon occurred at their birth. One side was filled with auspicious clouds, while the other was covered in dark clouds, symbolizing that one prince represented light and the other darkness. However, simply because he was born with a single wing, he was regarded as the demonic child representing darkness and suffered endless torment. Unbeknownst to them, he was the one who possessed the power of light, the light of the empire. The vicious empress used dark magic to forcefully transfer the power of darkness to Anthony while he was still a fetus in the womb, causing him to be born with a single wing and stealing the happy life that should have been his. As Anthony's loyal older sister Fan, the transmigrated public relations queen was determined to rewrite his tragic life, and help him rise to become king. Having just successfully become Anthony's companion, Amelia was subjected to a verbal attack by a maid. Amelia immediately slapped her. "A sleeping tiger, hidden dragon. Do you think I'm Hello Kitty?" Then, she haughtily ordered her to carry her luggage to her room. That night, lying in bed, Amelia tossed and turned, unable to sleep. Because the adorable Anthony suspected she was a spy planted by the vicious empress, he wouldn't even have dinner with her. She had to take the initiative and show her sincerity. The next second, she snuck into Anthony's room, claiming she was afraid of the dark and wanted to sleep with him. The perceptive Anthony saw right through her flimsy excuse. Her room was separated from his by a long, pitch-black corridor. The excuse of being afraid of the dark was unconvincing. Amelia threw herself onto the bed with a giggle. "Little prince, you appear aloof, but you're actually warm-hearted inside. You even know where my stomach is." How could the adorable Anthony withstand such flirting? His cheeks flushed as he stammered that he had guessed. Amelia seized the opportunity to hug his arm, saying she felt safe with him and that she wouldn't leave. Then she fell asleep. The innocent Anthony even thoughtfully tucked her in. "All right, sister, you might as well change your name to Master Flirt." The next morning, the emperor informed them that Montero, one of the 5 great mages, will be teaching a temporary magic class. In class, Amelia stood beside Anthony as his companion. Derek, having given up his choice of companion yesterday, was alone. Montero was teaching a crucial technique for quickly restoring mental strength. However, the Montero in the novel was not a good person. To curry favor with the royalty, he deliberately gave Anthony expired fish scales as ingredients. This would cause Anthony to permanently lose his appetite after drinking the potion. "Old man, you want to harm my little cutie? I'll teach you a lesson." Amelia suddenly pointed into the distance and shouted, "There's a fly," attracting everyone's attention. Then, she secretly swapped Montero and Anthony's fish scales. Unexpectedly, Anthony and Derek witnessed this scene. The potions were finished, and the 3 of them each drank what appeared to be their own concoction. Anthony and Derek felt refreshed and invigorated after drinking. Montero, however, looked constipated after his drink. He covered his mouth and ran out. Anthony wondered why the professor would do this. Derek, suspicious of Amelia's intentions, pulled her aside to question her. He was the abandoned prince, born on the same day as his twin, seen as a demonic child who brought disaster. He had been isolated, mocked, and mistreated since childhood. Now, even Louis, the highly respected magician of the empire, wanted to harm him. Fortunately, this crisis was cleverly resolved by Amelia, who had traveled through time. The sanctimonious old man ultimately suffered the consequences of his own actions. However, everything Amelia did was witnessed by Anthony's half-brother, Derek. Afterward, Derek questioned her, suggesting that she had switched the fish scale coins, causing the problem with Montero's potion. Unexpectedly, Amelia turned the tables. She argued that if she hadn't switched the coins, Anthony would have been the one affected. Therefore, it was the esteemed professor who wanted to poison Anthony. Derek immediately paled and frantically denied it 3 times. "It wasn't me. I didn't. Don't spout nonsense." Then, Amelia, acting like the epitome of innocence, squeezed out tears and started her performance. "So, your highness suspects me. Do you want to tarnish my reputation?" Her teary, captivating eyes pierced Derek's heart, scaring him into apologizing and wiping away her tears. However, Derek was reasonable. Instead of exposing her on the spot, he sought private verification. The matter was considered settled. Back at the castle, Amelia prepared a surprise cupcake she made herself for Anthony. She reasoned that his childhood was full of ridicule and isolation, which made him insecure and lonely. As long as she continued to warm him with her sincerity, she could eventually melt the iceberg in his heart. This was also the first gift Anthony had ever received. Growing up, all he had received was cold indifference. This was a warmth he had never experienced. However, under the girl's expectant gaze, he put down the cupcake he was about to eat. He was the queen's informant. Although he had helped her today, it didn't mean he was on her side. But when the girl's small hand gently touched his furrowed brow, his heart softened. He didn't want to hurt her feelings. Blushing, he awkwardly said he didn't like sweets. Just then, the Queen's guards barged in and took Anthony away. It was the beginning of the month. It was the day each month when Anthony had to endure agonizing torture. Listening to Anthony's cries of pain, Amelia clenched her fists with heartache. This shouldn't be his fate. He was the chosen one, the one who possessed the power of light. She would definitely help him correct the trajectory of his destiny. Although the Queen used her dark power ring to drain Anthony's light power every month, his light power became increasingly pure. With a mouthful of blood, the agonizing torture finally ended. The two-faced, vicious queen told him that it was Derek who yielded his light power to him every month. Otherwise, he would have been consumed by the darkness long ago. Poor Anthony didn't know this was a lie. Kind Derek also didn't know that he was the true bearer of the demonic mark. Meanwhile, Amelia waited in the hallway for a long time, but she didn't hear Anthony return. Where did he go? This boy was so heartbreaking, unloved by his father, abused since childhood. Just because he possessed pure light power, he was also used by the vicious queen as a vessel to convert dark power, constantly tormented. Even as a noble prince of the empire, only this small closet could bring him comfort, a place to heal his despairing heart in the long nights. Finally, the anxious Amelia found poor Anthony in this dark closet. Looking at his scarred cheeks and tear-filled eyes, Amelia felt her heart clench. Now that she was by his side, she would never let him be alone again. However, Anthony only thought she was there to mock him. He was born to be ridiculed and shunned. Only this girl had firmly chosen him from the beginning. That unprovoked intimacy felt like a reckless caress. Wasn't this another form of humiliation? After hearing these words, Amelia felt incredibly heartbroken and guilty. Admittedly, she had always stayed by his side with a savior complex. However, with his strong personality, he didn't need a savior. He longed for a true companion who could stand by his side. Thinking of this, Amelia clasped her hands together and sincerely apologized. She explained that her intimacy and enthusiasm were only meant to help him let down his guard, not to humiliate him. No matter what he did, she would always be on his side. However, the clever Anthony wasn't easily fooled. He had already seen that Amelia wasn't an ordinary child. He directly threw out a difficult question, asking Amelia to reveal her true origins. This stumped the PR queen, who had seen countless grand occasions. Should she tell him that she was an older woman who had traveled from another time and space, and that he was just a supporting male character in her story? Saying that would definitely make her seem crazy. After a moment of silence, Amelia said that she did have some special reasons and more experience and resourcefulness, but her feelings for him were genuine. Hearing this, Anthony assumed that she was resourceful because of her deceased mother and the oppression from her stepmother. He didn't delve deeper. Then he threw out one last question. Why did she choose him? Why you? Perhaps it was just the words at the beginning. Slowly, I started to feel your joys and sorrows, connect with your misfortunes, and ache for your sadness. Later, my own heart seemed to transcend time and space, resonating with yours on the same frequency. Ultimately, I only want to rewrite the ending for you. But he couldn't say these things. 1,000 words filled his heart, yet he couldn't speak them. The only thing Amelia could tell him was that she would answer him with the passage of time. If he was willing, she would be both his gamble and the person who would grow alongside him. Hearing this, Anthony made up his mind. His gaze firm, he tightly grasped her hands. All right, he said, I'll take this gamble. Even if I lose, I'll accept it. How cruel the supposedly elegant and righteous nobles are. Just because a little girl had her first period, they treated him like a sacrifice and burned him alive. Legend has it in the Lewis Empire that a girl with flea blood can break all curses. Newly blood awakens automatically during a girl's first period and emits a strange fragrance. And this girl happened to possess that sacred and precious flea blood. Just now, Amelia, intending to make flower cakes for Anthony, went to the garden to pick fresh petals. She ended up encountering a girl who had just started her period but thought she had a terminal illness. After Amelia's patient consolation and thoughtful explanation of menstruation, the girl finally smiled. The girl was smiling, but Amelia was crying. Because in the book, Amelia was the chosen one with the Vuli blood. The vicious empress, in order to break Derek's dark power, framed her after Amelia's first period. But in reality, this was just an unreliable rumor. As a result, not only was Derek's dark power not purified, but Amelia also lost her life for nothing. According to her current 9-year-old body's developmental pattern, she was still 3 years away from her first period. She had to find a way to avoid this disaster. She didn't want to die so tragically. Lost in thought, she bumped headfirst into Derek, who had appeared without her noticing. Not only were the picked flowers scattered all over the ground, but the arrogant young Derek actually said she had thrown herself at him and shouldn't expect him to help her up. This left Amelia speechless. Pinching his cheek, she wondered how thick his skin was to say such a thing. Then, she said angrily, "It takes two to tango. We've bumped into each other because neither of us was looking." Then, she raised her hand and pointed pitifully at her reddened forehead. "If I really wanted to throw myself at you, I wouldn't have hit you so hard." Derek felt a pang of guilt. Had he really been overthinking it? Before she could react, he placed his hand on her forehead and cast a healing spell. The wound and pain on her forehead instantly disappeared. Amelia suddenly remembered that this was a world of magic. She wondered what stage Anthony's magic had reached. If she wanted him to succeed, he had to surpass Derek. She hurriedly bid farewell to Derek. She had to go back and understand Anthony's magic level. Derek looked disappointedly at her retreating back, which showed no sign of hesitation. So, she really wasn't planning to cling to him. Back at the castle, Amelia absent-mindedly made the cake while thinking about Anthony's rise to power, a long-term plan. But the most pressing issue was how to resolve her own life-or-death crisis in 3 years. Anthony, who had just arrived home, noticed her worry. Amelia wanted to say she wasn't upset, but Anthony's insistent tone stopped her. She had to admit that she was indeed in a bad mood. She wondered if his commanding presence was innate. Anthony gently wiped the flour off her face and said he would take care of everything. He would take her somewhere to cheer her up. This adorable little boy was surprisingly good at flirting, making the 30-year-old Amelia blush. She felt uneasy. She could only change the subject to compose herself. Taken to see the starry sky by Anthony, Amelia suggested using a shooting star as their secret code. If they got separated, they would mark a shooting star pattern to guide each other. Anthony felt a pang of sadness and urgency. Having nothing, he couldn't afford to lose her too. He grasped her small hand tightly, saying he would hold her hand and never let go, never letting them get separated. Amelia, with her 30-year-old soul in a 9-year-old body, blushed crimson, her girlish heart fluttering. After 30 years of being single, this was the first time she had heard a boy say such things. However, he was just a child. She struggled internally, telling herself to stay calm. Let him flirt. It was like the wind blowing over the mountains. She then changed the subject to inquire about Anthony's magic level. She discovered, to her surprise, that his level was far below Derek's. His magic lessons were purely theoretical. The professor never taught practical application. Derek, on the other hand, had a personal tutor. Seeing Anthony's disappointment, Amelia patted his head reassuringly. "It's okay," she said. "You'll definitely surpass him eventually." She thought to herself, "After all, you're the future Dark Lord." Derek was still debating whether he should personally return Amelia's lost flower basket. He was interrupted by the Queen's sudden arrival. If nothing unexpected happened, something unexpected was about to happen to Amelia. Sure enough, the next day, she was summoned by the Queen. Anthony, acting bravely, or rather, recklessly, tried to intervene, but received a hard slap from a court lady. Amelia didn't want to see Anthony suffer. She obediently stood up, curtsied, and said, "Excuse me," before following the lady. Before leaving, she signaled to Anthony to not worry. Anthony felt helpless and resentful, but it wasn't the time to retaliate. Patience was key. One day, he would repay all the humiliation he had suffered 100-fold. The scene changed to the palace, where the Queen accused Amelia of seducing Derek with the flower basket. This old hag. Even if she were to seduce someone, it would be Anthony, not Derek. But how did the flower basket end up in the Queen's hands? Could it be because Derek picked it up and the Queen misunderstood? Amelia had a quick-witted idea. She admitted the flower basket was hers, but claimed she didn't know how it ended up in Derek's hands. Someone must have framed her, trying to target the vicious Empress. After all, in everyone's eyes, she and the Empress were in cahoots. Furthermore, if she had intended to curry favor, she would have immediately accepted the first prince's offer to be his bridesmaid. This explanation successfully diverted the Empress's suspicion. After whispering with a female official beside her, the Empress let Amelia go. Having successfully handled the Empress, Amelia was in high spirits. Humming a tune, she skipped away from the palace. For a while, the Empress would definitely be busy searching for the non-existent mastermind behind the scheme. She and Anthony could take this opportunity to build up their strength. This young girl, simply out of pity for the male supporting character in the book, was summoned into the book by the book Forest and became a cannon fodder heroine. She had no cheat codes or system hacks to help her. She relied entirely on her experience and wisdom from her past life to match wits with the vicious Empress, all while clinging to her life. At the same time, she also had to help the male supporting character in the book change his fate and reach the pinnacle of his life. Just now, after narrowly escaping the Empress, the directionally challenged Amelia accidentally wandered into the temple. She was summoned to another dimension by the book Forest, the guardian of books. The book Forest explained that it was moved by Amelia's genuine love and passion for Anthony, and thus summoned her into the world of the book to give her a chance to fulfill her wish. If she could change Anthony's fate and survive until the end, she could return to her original world. Amelia retorted speechlessly, "So you're saying you transported me here to be cannon fodder, and you call this a perk? If I wasn't quick-witted, I would have been kicked out by the Empress already. This hell-level transmigration setting, thanks a lot, Book Forest." Then it gave her magical the end prop. As long as she confirmed the completion of her mission, clasped her hands together, closed her eyes, and chanted the end, she could open the portal and return to her original world. Moments later, Amelia woke up thinking that what just happened was only a dream. But seeing the end prop in her hand, she realized it was all real. While her head was still spinning, she heard the priestess Sophia's scolding voice. "Who dares trespass in the temple?" Sophia was the vicious empress's talented and magically gifted niece. In the original story, she fell in love with Anthony. However, her status and pride wouldn't allow her to love someone with the demon mark, whom everyone despised. She eventually became very obsessive. The current Sophia was still just a haughty little kid. Amelia thought that perhaps she could prevent her from becoming the obsessive person she would be in the future. After Amelia's barrage of flattery, Sophia's attitude successfully softened. When Amelia revealed she was Anthony's companion, Sophia suddenly became shy, saying that Anthony was actually quite nice, and that being his companion wasn't so bad. Amelia thought to herself, "This child is precocious. She's already interested in Anthony at such a young age." But thankfully, she's not bad at heart, and there's still hope. As they talked, the sky gradually darkened. Sophia kindly gave her a guiding light to help her return. Upon returning to the Costa Palace, the servants anxiously told her that Anthony, seeing her prolonged absence, had rushed out half an hour ago to rescue her. Hearing this news, Amelia panicked, but she knew panicking wouldn't help. Closing her eyes, she calmly analyzed the situation. At Anthony's speed, he shouldn't have reached the Empress's palace yet. She just needed to let him know she was back, and he wouldn't go looking for the Empress. But without a phone, how could she get a message to him? Just then, Prince Derek suddenly arrived. Talk about perfect timing. She instantly thought of a good method. How could a 9-year-old girl be so clever? She actually thought of establishing an intelligence network to gather information and resources. Even more unexpected was that her primary method of gathering intelligence was holding nighttime storytelling sessions. The stories were adaptations of Journey to the West, modified to fit the context of this world. This was all because this little girl was a transmigrator. In her past life, she was a highly effective public relations queen. And in this life, not only did she have to protect her own life, she also had to help the male supporting character in the book change his tragic fate. At this time, Anthony, still unaware of Amelia's safe return, was on his way to the Empress's palace. He thought that even if it meant revealing his trump card, he had to rescue Amelia. Then he suddenly saw meteor-shaped fireworks in the sky. This was the secret signal between him and Amelia. Amelia was safe. He excitedly returned to the palace and saw Amelia, who had been waiting for him in the corridor. After exchanging expressions of concern, Anthony asked how she managed the firework magic. It turned out that Derek had arrived, and Amelia gave him the design, asking him to replicate it with firework magic in the sky. But Derek didn't help for free. The condition was that Amelia had to do something for him in the future. This made Anthony jealous. He suddenly cornered Amelia, saying he was very unhappy. Amelia blushed. She was being flirted with. She then pushed Anthony away, saying with a hint of anger, "Did you consider the consequences of rushing to the Empress like that?" Anthony calmly replied that he had a trump card and wasn't afraid of the Empress, despite her constant humiliation of him. But she didn't eliminate him out of gratitude. It must be because he has a unique value that no one else can replace. Amelia sighed, impressed that Anthony could analyze this at such a young age. He truly is a genius black-hearted boss. Anthony continued, saying that if the vicious Empress really wanted to harm him, he would threaten suicide. Hearing this, Amelia, heartbroken, hugged Anthony tightly. She assured him that neither of them would be harmed. But right now, the resources they had were too limited. No matter the era, information is crucial. Amelia smiled and said, "I'll establish an intelligence network." She already had a good idea. To gather information, Amelia held nighttime storytelling sessions, specifically telling stories to the servants of the nobles. Unexpectedly, she chose to tell the story of Journey to the West. Relying on her knowledge from her past life, and with the vigorous promotion of her friend Ellie, she quickly gained a large audience. Amelia originally thought she would obtain useful intelligence from their gossip. Unexpectedly, it was all trivial matters. However, today, someone finally mentioned something useful to her. It was about Montero's giant morning glories. Montero is the male lead in the novel, his healing magic profound and unfathomable. However, he is frail and sickly, leaving the story early on. At this point in time, Montero and the female lead haven't met yet. A bold idea suddenly popped into Amelia's mind. A bold idea suddenly popped into her little head. If one day you could transmigrate into a novel and live with your favorite character, what would you want to do with him? One of the wishes of our transmigrated protagonist, Amelia, is to dress up the adorable Anthony. Anthony put on the sailor suit Amelia personally designed. He looked so cute as a little boy. She was very happy to fulfill her wish of dressing up her little brother. She sees Anthony as a younger brother, but whether Anthony sees her as an older sister is unknown. As she helped Anthony adjust his clothes, she unconsciously started to blush and her heart raced. Anthony, looking at her flushed cheeks, couldn't help but reach out and pinch them. Then his own face flushed red. Amelia shyly lowered her head, nervously wanting to do something to ease this strange atmosphere, but found her body completely unresponsive, frozen in place. Just then, the servant Theo suddenly opened the door, announcing the arrival of Sophia, the divine maiden. He then looked dumbfounded at the two figures before him, caught in a way-bow atmosphere. Unexpectedly, Amelia, blushing furiously, just wanted to escape. She blurted out, "I'll go take a look," and scurried off with the servant. Anthony's lips curled into a slight smile, thinking, is she shy? He couldn't help but recall Amelia's shy, blushing face just now. My companion is so cute. At this moment, Sophia was sitting in the front hall. Her purpose was to ask Amelia to help her prepare for the festival. But Anthony refused her request through Amelia. However, Sophia's true intentions lay elsewhere. She actually wanted to learn about Anthony through Amelia. The clever Amelia had already seen through her thoughts. So, just as the two were locked in a silent battle of wits, Amelia proposed a solution that would benefit both of them. Sophia would invite Anthony to the temple to help, and she would accompany him as his companion. This way, everyone's goals would be achieved. The adorable Anthony naturally had no objections. Sophia, having achieved her goal, haughtily agreed. Looking at Sophia, who hadn't yet developed into a rival, the resourceful Amelia was already planning her next move. She wanted these two to have more positive interactions. She would guide Sophia towards the right path and draw her into Anthony's camp. The next day, Amelia and Anthony arrived at the temple as agreed. Gazing into Anthony's deep eyes, Sophia, infatuated and lost in thought, unconsciously blurted out, "Then cover your eyes first." Anthony, his face full of confusion, asked why he should cover his eyes. Sophia realized she had said something strange. But as the divine maiden of the empire, she absolutely couldn't admit to being foolish. To find a reason for her strange words, she said seriously, "Anthony is the son of a demon, so he must cover his eyes, which are filled with filth and evil." Anthony's face darkened as he retorted, "You asked me here just to humiliate me." Although she sensed Anthony's anger, the haughty Sophia still refused to back down. With her head held high and arms crossed, she replied arrogantly, "So what?" The atmosphere dropped to freezing point. Just then, the voice of Prince Derek suddenly rang out. Does anyone here know a girl who's cold on the outside but warm on the inside, who says one thing but means another? Someone who clearly likes someone a lot, but because of her own pride, keeps pushing him further and further away, even hurting him, and then regrets it afterward. Our haughty divine maiden, Sophia, is just such a girl. Her contradictory nature led her to say something hurtful to Anthony once again. Fortunately, Derek's timely arrival broke the awkward atmosphere. Then, Derek and Sophia, who couldn't stand each other, started bickering like two sworn enemies. Derek explained that he hadn't wanted to come, but he couldn't resist the constant nagging of the vicious empress, his mother. He had come to find her reluctantly. Then, ignoring Sophia, Derek looked questioningly at Amelia and Anthony. "Why are you two here? And what's with your unusual clothes?" Anthony puffed out his chest, subtly showing off. "Amelia designed these herself. Upon hearing this, the simple-minded Derek's eyes lit up. He begged Anthony to have Amelia design a set for him as well. Just then, Sophia, who had been ignored by the others, suddenly coughed loudly on purpose, reminding them that they were in the temple and to be quiet. Derek, who already disliked Sophia and annoyed by her buzzkill, pulled Amelia and Anthony away, leaving Sophia alone. He went with Amelia and Anthony to the sacred tree. Sophia repented. Anthony's eyes were clearly beautiful, yet she had insulted him by saying they were filled with filth. Feeling down, she regretted how she always hurt Anthony with her words, even though he was such a good person. Just then, Amelia brought over clothes she had specially designed for Sophia and overheard her prayer. Amelia comforted her, saying that she acted this way because, as the esteemed divine maiden of the empire, she carried the weight of the people's expectations and immense pressure. When inner emotions clashed with worldly rules, it was natural to become duplicitous. Amelia then gently reached out her hand and said, "Your pride and arrogance are just masking your confusion. Don't try to be strong. If you're tired, lean on my shoulder." Hearing this, Sophia finally released the pressure she had been holding in and cried on Amelia's shoulder, sadly saying she didn't want to be disliked. Amelia patted her back and softly comforted her, "Then let go of your obsession with status and position. Treat others with equality and sincerity." The PR queen, having transmigrated into the body of the cannon fodder female supporting character, not only had to survive the dangers of the imperial palace, but also helped change the tragic fate of the novel's second male lead. The quick-witted Amelia not only successfully won over the second male lead and the male lead, but even Sophia, the most arrogant and overbearing divine maiden in the book, was also won over by her and gradually became a better person under her influence. Sophia not only confided in Amelia, but also wore the clothes Amelia had specially designed for her. Shy at first, she felt a little embarrassed, but amidst the effusive praise from her friends, she gradually let go of her aloof persona. Then she went to Anthony and sincerely apologized for insulting him the day before. From now on, she would treat everyone with sincerity and equality. Derek, ever the straight man, had never seen Sophia so submissive and immediately jumped up, pointing at her and asking if she had been possessed by an evil spirit. Amelia quickly smoothed things over. "What are you talking about, Your Highness? The divine maiden is inherently kind and lovely. It's just that she's usually a bit serious due to her status. Now that there are no outsiders, she's naturally showing her true self." Derek immediately clapped his hands with a look of sudden understanding. It seemed he had misunderstood Sophia before. Anthony also smiled and forgave her after hearing this. He hadn't taken the matter to heart anyway. Sophia was touched. This was the first time Anthony had smiled at her. Amelia truly was her lucky star. With the misunderstanding cleared, they agreed to be good friends from now on, addressing each other by their names without formality. Then they cheered and went to prepare for the Chi date together. However, they didn't know that the vicious Empress's scheming lady-in-waiting was watching them from the shadows, thinking about teaching the audacious Amelia a lesson. Busy preparing for the Chi date all day, Anthony and Amelia were knocked unconscious by a sudden smoke on their way back. Then a mysterious person appeared and carried Amelia away. The dazed Amelia was locked in a small, dark room. After being splashed awake with water, she opened her eyes to see Reese, the Empress's lady-in-waiting, looking down at her and warning her, "Serve the Empress well and remember your lowly status." The first prince and the divine maiden are not someone you can cling to. The clever Amelia guessed that Reese must have seen them playing around together to say such things. It seemed that her abduction was Reese's personal action. She then knelt on the ground and apologized respectfully. But Reese had no intention of letting her go. She took out a magic ball and cast a dream curse on Amelia. The dream curse wouldn't harm the body, but would force the victim to relive their most painful memories repeatedly. Amelia recalled her deepest fear. As a child, people poked at her, saying she was the one who had caused the death of her parents. She also recalled the scenes of being mercilessly abused, which she never wanted to remember again. In immense pain, she cried out, "No. What to do when your wife is upset? No problem can't be solved with a princess carry." Although the location, time, and person were different for what Amelia had imagined, she couldn't help but blush. Having just endured the torment of the dream curse, Amelia finally saw Anthony, who had been anxiously searching for her for a long time. Seeing her weak but still trying to hide it so he wouldn't worry, Anthony's heart ached. He picked her up and carried her to his safe haven. I hate exposing my vulnerability. If I'm truly vulnerable to the point where I can't maintain my disguise, I'd rather hide. That's the only way I feel safe. But you discovered my secret. Amelia quickly apologized. I'm sorry. Anthony shook his head and dotingly placed a finger on her lips. I want to tell you that it's okay to be vulnerable. I'll always be with you. He was still so young, yet Anthony was so warm, making her feel incredibly safe. Amelia couldn't hold back anymore and hugged him, crying. Anthony softly comforted her. It's okay. I'm here. A moment later, after venting her sadness, Amelia finally smiled again. However, for a renowned PR queen to cry like a child in someone's arms, it was truly embarrassing. Then Anthony asked her about what happened after Reese took her away. After hearing what Reese had done to him from the girl, Anthony was furious. He slammed his fist on the ground in anger. That damned Reese. I won't let you off the hook so easily this time. You'll pay for this. After tonight's story session, Amelia heard from Ellie that Reese had been confined by the Queen's bees. However, the Queen's bees were highly venomous and didn't usually attack unprovoked. This is rather strange. After saying goodbye to Ellie, she prepared to head home. She hadn't yet told Anthony about her intelligence network plan. Once it was properly established, it would surely surprise him. In her sleep, Amelia recalled events from her past life. Her mother, suffering from bipolar disorder, had accidentally killed her father and then followed him to the grave. Orphaned, she was adopted by a new family, where she thought she could finally live a stable life. Unexpectedly, she suffered constant and varied bullying from her adoptive mother's son. Amelia opened her eyes to see Anthony looking apologetic. I'm sorry I woke you. A side effect of the Dream Eye potion is having nightmares for 2 weeks straight. I wanted to use a calming technique to soothe your emotions, but my skills are lacking, and I ended up waking you. Amelia's heart warmed. He had been silently watching over her all this time. She smiled and said she felt much better. Anthony patted his chest, promising to work harder to become stronger so she wouldn't be hurt again. Amelia blushed, her girlish heart fluttering. She had fantasized about someone making such a vow to her, but with her adorable Anthony as the subject, she didn't know how to react. She then asked Anthony about Reese's confinement. It turned out Anthony, to avenge her, had added no Dingta water to the incense the priestess was going to give her. It was the scent the queen bees hated most. Even if Reese discovered the incense was tampered with, since it was from the priestess, she wouldn't dare make a fuss and had to suffer in silence. Amelia marveled. This child, so young yet so strategic. His future is limitless. My sweet little Anthony, so young and already so strategic. He successfully punished that wicked lady-in-waiting. But when facing the girl he cares about, he's still afraid she'll dislike his scheming nature. Amelia held his hand tightly, firmly stating she would never dislike him. Because I did the same. Facing the bullying from her adoptive mother's son, she fought back, making the bully back down. Faced with tyrannical bullying, most people make two choices. Either endure it silently and suffer a miserable fate, or abandon their conscience and become a new tyrant. But we're the third type. We have to fight back for self-preservation, but we know our bottom line and purpose. We are not unkind, just kind with an edge. In her past life, she always felt like a lonely outsider. She never thought she would find someone like her here. A relieved Amelia reached out to stroke Anthony's head. Unexpectedly, Anthony suddenly looked up and bumped into her hand. Amelia felt embarrassed. Your hair was messed up by the wind. I wanted to fix it for you. Anthony leaned close to her ear and whispered, there's no wind here, only me. He then gently kissed Amelia's forehead. I won't disturb your rest anymore. Good night, Amelia. The little deer in her heart finally died. Just then, a magical butterfly flew in through the window. It was a message from Mohawk asking to meet her. My plan worked. Amelia was overjoyed. He finally responded. Mohawk was the smartest person in the kingdom. As long as she won him over, Anthony's magic training wouldn't be a problem. Amelia walked up to Mohawk and casually asked him why he wanted to meet her. However, the clever Mohawk had already seen through everything, because recently his servant had been talking about her nonstop. That girl deliberately made me curious, leading me to seek her out. Tell me, what is it that you want after going to such lengths to find me? Amelia was embarrassed. As expected of Mohawk, he had seen through her little scheme. She then got straight to the point, asking him to tutor Anthony in magic. Unexpectedly, the ever-victorious PR queen was rejected by Mohawk, but Amelia wasn't one to give up easily. After calmly analyzing the situation, she understood. Mohawk's visit wasn't just because of his servants nagging. After all, if he were only interested in her personally, he would have met her formally. But him seeking her out privately must be for a more personal reason. She heard from Ellie that her nighttime story sessions were becoming popular. Someone as studious as Mohawk would definitely be attracted to stories from another world. Amelia played her trump card. The adventures of the four freaks and the saint have reached their climax. But I've been busy these past few days and haven't held a story session. Couldn't you resist and came looking for me? Seeing his thoughts exposed, Mohawk coughed awkwardly. That's only one of the reasons. I mainly want more people to know such a wonderful story. So I've recorded it and want to publish it. As the original author, I specifically came to ask for your opinion. Amelia felt a dilemma. After all, she wasn't the original author. But then she had a brilliant idea. You can publish it, but I decide the pen name. She then wrote 3 characters on the ground. Wu Cheng-in. Mohawk clearly couldn't understand the characters. Amelia smiled and explained, it's a mystical inscription from the East. It will bless this book with a successful release. I have to say, Amelia, you're really skilled at promoting traditional culture. What made her even happier was that Mohawk had agreed to his request to help Anthony with economic magic. The friendship between lifelong companions is so pure, untainted by any benefit or ulterior motive. Even the kingdom's most noble divine maiden can put aside her status and become close friends with ordinary people. They play together, sharing joy and sorrow, always thinking of each other first when something good happens. After the July festival was successfully held, Amelia was spacing out alone under the divine tree. Sophia invited her over to her house. Sophia told her that the July festival had been a complete success and that the queen had bestowed many gifts, including a hair ornament that would be perfect for her. While Sophia was searching, Amelia was captivated by a peculiar-looking book on the table. She couldn't resist picking it up and flipping through it, but Sophia nervously stopped her. Amelia thought she had offended her, but it turned out Sophia was worried for her safety. The book was dangerous, a royal exclusive book imbued with a competitive curse. A specific password had to be recited before opening it. Otherwise, opening it rashly would result in an immediate attack. Relieved, Amelia sighed, "It's a good thing you stopped me in time." Sophia dismissed it, saying the book didn't deserve to be called royal exclusive because it was full of nonsense. For example, it claimed the great divine maiden Tia achieved her position because she possessed Lili blood. Divine Maiden Tia was the daughter of Louis I and the first Divine Maiden. Her magical talent was unparalleled, making her worthy of the title. I've never even heard of this Lili blood. Besides, with my status and talent, shouldn't I have inherited this bloodline? But it's probably for the best. The book says sacrificing someone with Lili blood can break any curse. That doesn't sound like a good thing. Amelia, however, looked serious. After all, she was the unlucky one with the Lili blood. The original story never mentioned Divine Maiden Tia or any royal exclusive book. The queen must have read this book to frame Amelia. Seeing Amelia motionless and dazed, Sophia thought she was cursed and comforted her, saying it was all nonsense and to just treat it as a story. Amelia laughed inwardly, thinking, if only the queen thought like you, I wouldn't have to die so tragically in the future. However, thanks to this incident, Amelia had successfully devised a self-preservation plan. That night, Anthony and Amelia were stargazing when Anthony suddenly said, "Mohawk told me today that someone asked him to help me with economic magic. Was it you who asked him?" After receiving confirmation, Anthony hugged Amelia. "Thank you, Amelia. Mohawk isn't someone who meddles in other people's affairs. You must have put in a lot of effort to convince him to help me." Anthony felt incredibly guilty. Ever since meeting him, Amelia had been constantly hurt and troubled. Yet, she still silently worked for him. She maneuvered for him within the dangerous royal palace. He had to become stronger, quickly transforming into a man who could protect her. Amelia frowned with heartache. This was the first time she had seen Anthony cry, and it was because he felt sorry for her. She gently stroked his cheek with her small hand. "It's okay, Anthony. I still choose to stand with you. It might be hard, but I'm willing. Whether it's the past, present, or future, I will unwaveringly choose you. Anthony was startled and silently made up his mind. He solemnly told her, I will prove to everyone how right your choice was, Amelia. Just because of a rumor that sacrificing someone with Lee blood could break all curses. She was going to be burned to death by the queen. And the worst part was, the curse wasn't even broken in the end. What kind of cruel fate was this? Fortunately, the clever Amelia found a way to save herself. The Luli blood would only manifest when she fully matured. As long as she delayed her physical development, it wouldn't be discovered. Amelia acted decisively, seeking Mohawk to concoct a potion to delay her physical development. After drinking the potion, she indeed didn't have her first period for 5 years. During these 5 years, she meticulously planned, preparing to deliver a fatal blow to the queen on the day of her first period. Thanks to the support of Derek and Sophia, her life in the royal palace became much easier during these 5 years. Furthermore, the queen forced a concubine named Bella onto Derek. Anthony, on the surface, appeared useless, but secretly, he diligently worked on improving his abilities. The queen, seemingly preoccupied with other matters, only kept Anthony under surveillance without excessive harassment. Time flew by like a fleeting horse, and it was Amelia's birthday again. She congratulated herself on surviving another year. The mountain of gifts made Amelia as happy as a clam. However, Anthony's gift was conspicuously absent. He wasn't even present on such an important day. But then she reconsidered. Anthony had been acting mysteriously these past few days. He must be preparing a big surprise for her. Speak of the devil, why are you still awake so late? Amelia went up to him and dropped a heavy hint. Do you remember what day it is today? Anthony, adorably clueless, said, Oh, I remember. It's time to water my flowers. Then he waved goodbye and left. Just as Amelia was feeling disappointed, sighing that he had indeed forgotten, the lights suddenly went out. The only light guiding her towards the internet. This must be Anthony's birthday surprise. It seems her usual otaku act wasn't in vain. Pushing open the door, a gorgeous dress appeared before her. She had told Anthony the story of Cinderella before. Could he be imitating the fairy tale scene? Then, a pumpkin carriage appeared. Baron Monkey gestured for her to get in. Where would the carriage take her? Anthony was really good at this. After arriving at the destination, Amelia sighed. This completely satisfied her girlish heart. Suddenly, a clear, cool male voice called out, This beautiful lady, may I have this dance? Amelia felt the handsome man's face strike directly at her heart. Anthony had actually found such a handsome dance partner for her. However, Amelia, did you really not realize this is a grown-up Anthony? The scene of the handsome man and beautiful woman dancing together was truly breathtaking. It seemed like it was time to close her eyes and bask in the moment. Although she loved reading romance novels before crossing over, she had actually been single for 30 years and hadn't even held a man's hand. Now, she was finally going to experience the perks of transmigration. This was just like a dream. A 30-year-old woman's consciousness transmigrated into a little girl's body, only be tricked by a little brat. Immersed in the perks of transmigration, Amelia was woken up by Anthony tickling her with a feather. He then told her that everything had just been a daydream. The fragrance of that pot of lily of the valley can make wishes come true in dreams. This flower is very difficult to grow. I've been cultivating it for a long time for your birthday. Happy birthday, Amelia. The birthday girl, having experienced the joy and then the disappointment, declared, I'm not happy at all. Then she angrily punched Anthony on the head. The dignified PR queen had been tricked by a little brat. Don't I have any face? Seeing that Amelia was angry and couldn't be easily appeased, Anthony pulled out another gift he had prepared in advance. It was an earring shaped like a tightening curse. Anthony explained, this isn't an ordinary earring. It's modeled after the tightening curse on the Monkey King's head from the story I told you. The Monkey King was all-powerful, but the only thing that could restrain him was this tightening curse. So, when I made this earring, I incorporated a strand of my hair into it. As long as you chant the incantation and put the earring on me, that incantation will be able to control me from now on. Amelia's heart ached. Why would you do this? Anthony smiled and said, After all, I'm the son of a demon. If one day the dark power within me goes out of control, I'd rather you hurt me than have me hurt you. Amelia hugged Anthony tightly, heartbroken. No, that won't happen. None of that will happen. Anthony, how can you be so good? She secretly made up her mind. Whether it was Anthony or the true son of the demon, Derek, they were both her friends. She would absolutely not stand by and watch them get hurt. The female protagonist, Princess She, who could completely resolve the dark power, would appear in 5 months. There would definitely be a turning point then. The next day, Anthony, Derek, and their group went to the Hamlin Forest to learn how to identify Streep Orso. Derek's attendant, Bella, diligently took out a map of the forest. Unexpectedly, Derek ignored her completely, took the map, and trotted over to Amelia, inviting her to look at it with him. Anthony pouted and sarcastically commented, "You're not looking at the map, you're looking at my attendant." Bella gritted her teeth in anger. It was supposed to be a movie for 4 people. Why had it become a party for 3? Unexpectedly, at this moment, the professor suddenly clutched his stomach and announced he needed to relieve himself. Just as the professor was, a mid-level magical beast suddenly appeared. Anthony and Derek simultaneously pulled Amelia and ran, but Amelia tripped over a rock. As the beast approached rapidly, Anthony and Derek, in their panic, simultaneously chanted incantations. Then, a wave of magical attacks followed. The magic dragon, Red Hair, let out a powerful roar. As an ordinary person, Amelia couldn't withstand it all. After a buzzing in her head, she fainted. 1 second the girl was knocked unconscious by the magical beast. The next she found her friends standing by her bed with long faces. If Amelia hadn't woken up, just looking at the expressions of these 3, she would have thought she had already ascended to heaven. Seeing her awake, Sophia's worried heart finally relaxed. She rushed over and hugged her, complaining that Derek was a weakling in battle and that she would protect her from now on. Amelia's eyebrows furrowed from being squeezed, silently indicating that she had received this heavy love. Then, Sophia was pulled away by the scruff of her neck by an annoyed Derek. Amelia immediately sat up and asked who had saved her after she fainted. Anthony said it was Prince Derek. He had cast a protective shield to buy time until Professor Montero returned and rescued everyone. Derek wanted to say something, but Anthony interrupted him. "It was all thanks to you. Don't be modest." Then he leaned closer and whispered, indicating that his magic was insignificant and that Amelia should only be grateful to him. The naive Derek immediately beamed. "My brother is so good, always giving me the credit." Then, puffing out his chest, he proudly declared, "That's right, it was me who saved Amelia at the critical moment." Amelia sincerely expressed her gratitude. Then, Derek and Sophia were dismissed by Anthony. Anthony escorted them out the door. Just then, an uninvited guest appeared. Bella arrived with hostile intentions, immediately starting with threats. It turned out she had discovered Anthony's secret of knowing magic. In magic class, it was clearly Anthony's shield spell that protected Amelia from the magical beast attack. Anthony's magic is clearly stronger than the Crown Prince's, yet he pretends to be useless in front of everyone. There must be something going on. Amelia's heart skipped a beat. As expected of the villain who manipulates interstellar affairs in the original story, he's truly sharp. After closing her eyes and pondering for a moment, she calmly said, "You figured it out, but instead of telling the queen, you came to me. What are you planning?" Bella narrowed her eyes and said disdainfully, "You're a smart girl. How about we make a deal?" A moment later, Anthony returned and ran into Bella as she was leaving. Amelia told him that Bella had discovered his disguise and was using it as a bargaining chip. "We could fool Derek, but not her." Derek even intervened. "Why couldn't you be more rational? Now someone has leverage against us." Anthony protested silently. "I understand, but you were in danger." He then placed his hands on her shoulders, firm and sincere. "Amelia, how could I entrust your safety to anyone else? Even if it happened again, I wouldn't hesitate to save you." Amelia frowned, feeling a headache coming on. He was willing to abandon reason to protect her. She didn't know whether to scold him or reward him with a kiss. Having never experienced warmth in her past life, she was repeatedly moved by his sincerity in this one. Even at the risk of exposing his secret, he was willing to abandon reason to save her. Amelia's heart was a mix of emotions, unsure what to do. Should she scold him or reward him with a kiss? Anthony stroked her head, comforting her, "There's no need to rush. Didn't Bella say she wanted to make a deal with you?" Amelia mused, stroking her chin. She's not someone to be trifled with. She actually wants us to help her get rid of her sister, the real Bella. Everyone knows Bella is the apple of Duke Carl's eye. But few know he also has an illegitimate daughter, Betty, who is constantly bullied. 6 months ago, when Bella fell ill, Betty was sent to the palace as a replacement to ensure Bella's chance to marry the crown prince. Now that the real Bella has recovered, the family will undoubtedly discard Betty, who served as a mere tool. She has to eliminate the real Bella first, or she'll be the one to die. Amelia looked horrified. I've never even killed a chicken, and she's asking for this. Anthony, with a serious expression, admitted that it was indeed a difficult request, but not impossible. Amelia immediately panicked, grabbing his arm and shaking it frantically. What are you saying? Even though we're in a dangerous situation, we have no quarrel with Bella. How can we hurt her? Anthony grasped her small hand, assuring her that he was only joking. The real Bella was innocent, and he wouldn't harm her. Amelia breathed a sigh of relief. That's good. I was so angry my chest felt tight. Secretly, she was relieved that she hadn't led Anthony astray. Anthony coaxed Amelia to sleep. You rest first. I'll take care of the rest. As he left, his face darkened with a threatening expression. You brought this on yourself. The next day, Mohawk excitedly told Amelia that the published book was a sensation. However, she was completely distracted, still thinking about how Anthony would deal with Bella's situation. Mohawk noticed her preoccupation. Rubbing her head, Amelia admitted that she was indeed facing a difficult problem. She asked him if he had any magic that could make someone smarter. Mohawk pondered for a moment, then placed his hand on her forehead. Anthony and his companions, who had come looking for her, witnessed this scene. Sophia quickly grabbed Derek, who was about to greet them. Don't go over there. Something's happening. Mohawk gently told Amelia, you've become smarter. All your problems will be easily solved. However, Amelia didn't know that it was just an ordinary gesture enhanced by psychological suggestion. It made her feel a special power. Amelia smiled and thanked him. Mohawk, you're so kind. He gently placed his hand on her cheek. Amelia, you're kind too. Hiding behind a tree, Sophia squealed excitedly. They're so perfect for each other. Derek looked shocked. Does Mohawk also like Amelia? Only Anthony's face was noticeably dark. That night, Amelia ate with gusto. Anthony, blushing, asked her what she thought of Mohawk. Without hesitation, she replied, he's really great. Anthony stopped eating, frowning, and persistently asking, how is he great? Completely oblivious to Anthony's strange behavior, Amelia chattered on, praising Mohawk. He's kind, gentle, considerate, and handsome. Anthony's heart sank. He stood up abruptly, slamming down his cutlery. With a dark expression, he said, I'm full. You eat slowly. Amelia was completely confused. What's wrong with him? Is he going through puberty? The next day, something else happened that displeased Anthony. Because the professor had something to attend to, Mohawk took over the divination class. Amelia was enthusiastic, but Anthony and Derek were as serious as if facing a great enemy. Could a childhood sweetheart really lose to someone new? After just a few meetings, Mohawk seemed to have become Anthony's biggest rival. Although there was Derek, the simple-minded landlord's son, he wasn't a real threat. Now, with the addition of the warm and gentle Mohawk, Anthony felt increasingly jealous. After the divination class, Amelia casually brought up the topic of palm reading. Mohawk, curious, extended his hand for Anthony to try. Their hands clasped together, completely oblivious to the scowling Anthony, who clenched his fists. The next second, unable to bear it any longer, Anthony slapped their joined hands apart. He loudly questioned Mohawk, Teacher, you're here to teach, but you're flirting with my companion. Isn't that unprofessional? Mohawk chuckled lightly, I understand. Seeing Anthony's hostility, Amelia quickly intervened. Anthony, watch your tone with the teacher. Inwardly, she criticized Anthony. This little kid has such low emotional intelligence. How could he offend Mohawk, such an important person? Anthony, after hearing this, looked as Wei Qi de Shanga Xiao Xi Fu. He felt hurt that she was defending another man. That night, back home, Amelia questioned Anthony, why were you so rude today? Anthony sulkily replied, he held your hand during class. That's unprofessional. Then he muttered, you've never even let me read your palm. Amelia pondered. Could it be that my interaction with Mohawk upset him? She then asked him directly, "Are you jealous because Mohawk and I ignored you?" Anthony blushed. Amelia suddenly realized, "Anthony, you want my attention because you trust and rely on me." The boy blushed, his face full of expectation. He finally understood. But Amelia's next words, that shocked him. "Anthony, you see me as a mother figure. I swear I'll only ever have you as my son." Anthony felt like he'd been struck by lightning. Embarrassed, he frantically waved his hands, trying to explain. But then another unexpected guest arrived. A servant announced Bella's arrival to see Amelia. Anthony glared at the servant. "Why is it you again?" Amelia, still unsure how to handle the situation, felt apprehensive. Anthony squeezed her shoulder reassuringly. "Don't worry. Just agree to Bella's request. Leave the rest to me." He then gently patted her head. "Amelia, I'm not a child anymore. I can protect you too." Upon meeting Bella, Amelia agreed to her anxious request. Bella then revealed her plan. In a week, the Royal Guild would hold a grand ball. Her father would secretly bring her sister along to meet her. At that time, Amelia only needed to put the powder into the tea and find a way to make her sister drink it. Bella then handed her a set of women's clothes with a royal insignia. Bella explained that she would distract her father and create an opportunity. She instructed Amelia to wear the clothes while serving the tea and pastries so Bella wouldn't suspect her. A week later, the ball took place as scheduled. Amelia, disguised as a maid, carried tea into the dark room where Bella's sister was. She then watched as Bella's sister drank the tea and collapsed in front of her. Amelia then went to the ballroom to inform Bella that the task was complete. Although Bella assured her she would keep her promise, Amelia still felt uneasy. Anthony gently comforted her. "Don't worry, everything is arranged." But Amelia, unaware of the plan, still couldn't relax. Anthony simply told her, "You'll know when it's all over." He then extended his hand gallantly. "May I have this dance?" Amelia blushed, as if she saw the handsome man of her dreams. She happily took Anthony's hand. "Since he's so confident, I should trust him." She and her sister looked exactly alike. But fate had a cruel twist. Her sister was her father's beloved daughter, while she was a neglected, illegitimate child. When her sister fell ill, she was sent to the palace as a replacement, securing the prince's favor. Now that her sister had recovered, her family wanted to discard her. Unwilling to accept this, she planned to eliminate her sister and secure her position. However, her plan failed. Her sister appeared before her, unharmed. Knowing her cruel sister wouldn't spare her, she desperately tried to escape. But her sister overpowered her. Bella cried out for her father, but he had already abandoned her. No matter how much she screamed, she wouldn't leave that room alive. When Bella's sister appeared, Amelia was stunned. Anthony, however, understood. It seems the plan went smoothly. Amelia looked at him uneasily, her face full of confusion. Back at the palace, Anthony explained everything. It turned out that when Bella had approached Amelia with a poisoning plan, Anthony had already placed a memory crystal to record her scheme. He then privately informed the Duke of his daughter Bella's ambitions. In other words, Anthony had used Bella's plan against her, collaborating with the Duke to eliminate the threat she posed. When Anthony calmly stated, "That foolish girl, thinking she was so clever, has likely already been executed by the Duke," Amelia was shocked. Although Bella was not a good person, she was ultimately acting out of self-preservation. Amelia felt both sad and worried. Was Anthony becoming ruthless? She wanted to tell him that all life should be respected, that being cunning and being cruel were two different things. As his beloved charge, she had to guide him while he was still young. So she began to study childcare. Sophia misunderstood him, thinking he was gossiping. He wants to have children with Mohawk. Anthony, eavesdropping nearby, clenched his fists in anger. He gave him a figurine representing kindness and benevolence. He wanted to give him positive psychological suggestions, but he mistook it as a hint that he couldn't have children with Mohawk. Unsurprisingly, Anthony rejected the gift. He even said something that chilled him to the bone. "Kindness and benevolence, to me, means certain death. Amelia, you don't understand anything." For the next few days, neither of them spoke a word. This was the 5th day of their Cold War. He didn't get an apology from Anthony, but he did receive thanks from Bella for saving her with Anthony. Bella clutched her skirt, playing the innocent victim. She hinted that everything was arranged by her father and that she had been sick and unaware of anything. When Amelia asked how Betty was doing, Bella said that although Betty had tried to harm her, she couldn't bear to see her die. She pleaded with her father to spare Betty's life. Hearing that Betty was still alive, Amelia's furrowed brow finally relaxed. She looked delighted and even invited Bella to visit often. The innocent little flower immediately gave a harmless smile. Okay, so we're friends now. Amelia's reason had flown out the window. She sincerely spoke of helping each other. But as soon as Amelia left, Bella revealed her true colors. She put on a hat and dressed as a boy. Her best friend clapped, praising her for looking like a handsome young man. She was glad she hadn't developed yet, giving her an advantage in disguising herself as a boy. She slipped out of the palace with the servants who were doing the shopping. Her friend told her to be back before dark. Then she began a fun day of shopping and eating. Strawberry mousse, fruit sweetheart. The foodie was having trouble choosing. A sweet voice suddenly came. I suggest you choose this one. I just had it. It tastes good. The girl still had crumbs on her face. It was unclear which noble lady was dressed as a man. After saying goodbye to Amelia, she was about to leave when she saw someone at the door and hurriedly pulled him aside. She asked him for help. Amelia told him to hide behind the shelves. According to typical plot lines, a young lady who sneaks out dressed as a man will definitely have servants looking for her with money. These two were no exception. Amelia pointed in a random direction and swindled a bag of gold coins. Coming to the shelves, she extended her hand gentlemanly. Your servants have been dealt with. Have fun. The girl suddenly apologized. She had just pettily thought that she would betray her for the gold. Amelia touched her face and said it was nothing. It's normal to be wary of strangers. This was the first time she had been touched on the face by a boy. The girl's heart pounded. Amelia, oblivious to her flirting, intended to return the gold, but the girl refused. In the end, they decided to spend the gold together. So, Amelia's pleasant day turned into a free ride. Shopping, eating, and flirting. But in order not to form any attachments, Amelia didn't reveal her identity in the end. The girl gave her a token, telling her not to forget her. She had a strong feeling that they would meet again. The pleasant day ended, and she had to go back to living Amelia's life. But just as she entered the palace gates, she was caught red-handed by Lady Reese. Reese threatened to report the matter to the queen. No matter how she explained that she was just curious about wearing men's clothing, Reese, having finally caught her doing something wrong, wouldn't let her off easily. She was about to forcibly take her away when Derek suddenly arrived and rescued her. He explained that Amelia was doing something for him, which was why she was dressed as a man. Then he used his authority to intimidate Reese, who then gave up, although Amelia thanked him. He wasn't happy. He felt like a tool. Amelia always just thanked him verbally and then quickly slipped away. His conscience was slightly bothered, so he promised to give her a handmade gift as compensation. The scene of them making a pinky promise was again seen by the ever-present Anthony. Feeling insecure, he decided to win her heart back. He was deeply in love with her. He treated her like a precious treasure, but she, oblivious to his feelings, only wanted to be his mother figure. Other men showed interest in her. Feeling his position threatened, he pretended to be sick. My dear, I caught a cold in the wind while waiting for you to come back. His sickly appearance indeed touched her heart. He got up to call a doctor, but Anthony stopped him. They wouldn't care about such a minor ailment. Amelia had to give up. Bella seized the opportunity to apologize, saying he shouldn't have said hurtful things and shouldn't have given him the cold shoulder. Amelia completely fell for it. What bad intentions could such a sweet child have? Bella instantly switched back to his manipulative self. This tactic really worked. He pushed his luck. He wanted Amelia to sleep with him, like they did when they were little. Anthony saw him as a lover, but he saw Anthony as a son. Singing a lullaby to soothe Anthony, Bella fell asleep himself. The scheming Bella thought affectionately, "You are my little darling." He wanted to make his feelings clear to Anthony immediately, but some things couldn't be rushed. Gently planting a kiss, he thought, "We have plenty of time." The scene changes. Two figures acting suspiciously in the woods are overheard. They're talking about becoming the first prince's consort. Bella specifically sought out Reese for information. The original candidate for the position of princess consort, Sophia the Divine Maiden, is no longer being considered due to her incompatibility with the first prince. The day after tomorrow, the Galomo royal family will be visiting. The queen is considering an alliance through marriage with them. Although it's difficult, Bella still believes she has a chance. But ambition needs to be backed by ability. Bella clenched her fists, seemingly determined. The next day, due to Anthony's heterochromia being considered inauspicious, he is forbidden by the queen from attending tomorrow's diplomatic banquet. Amelia is even angrier than Anthony himself. She believes his heterochromia is the most beautiful thing in the world. His left eye, a rosy red like the sunset glow, hides within the gentle sunlight. His right eye, bright as the clouds, is filled with romantic vitality. Such unique eyes make one want to kiss them. How could they be considered inauspicious? Anthony, understanding perfectly, takes charge, intertwining his fingers with hers. He says, "Since you want to kiss them, then do it." Amelia blushes and pushes him away. "A kiss is just an expression of affection, not that serious," she says. Anthony is visibly disappointed. He can only gently stroke her forehead, smiling as he says he really does want to kiss her. Then he runs off, leaving her flustered. Amelia's heart is pounding, but the Western princess arrives seeking aid. Anthony accidentally falls into the water and falls in love at first sight with the Western princess who saves him. His tragic fate begins from this point. She must prevent their meeting and stop the disaster from unfolding.